Finding a good lawyer in Mexico can be something feel like searching for the Holy Grail. And the problem is not that we do not have lawyers. We have lawyers everywhere. There are thousands and thousands of lawyers. The real problem is finding one who has actually experience, communicates with the clients, and understands litigation, and does not try to sell you supposed contact inside the government. Because if a lawyer, facilitator, or intermediary tells you, don't worry, I know someone at the prosecutor office, or I have contact inside the courthouse, run. Do not walk, just run. Because a serious lawyer explains the legal strategy. A scammer explains who they supposed to know. Today, we're going to talk about how to actually find a good lawyer in Mexico. Why searching for an accident lawyer may be the wrong approach, and which questions you need to ask before giving anybody your money. Welcome back to everybody. Give me a second, I just can see people joining. And please tell me in the chat where you are watching from. Also, I want to know something. Have you ever tried to find a lawyer in Mexico using English? Maybe you search accident lawyer, personal injury lawyer in Cancun, or near to me, Profeco specialist, real estate fraud lawyer in Mexico. And then you found a strange website from 2018. A person who also sells property, or someone whose entire legal experience seems to be a stock photo of Gabe. By the way, we do not normally use cables in Mexico courts, but that is a different conversation. Hi, I am Javier Quezada. I am a litigation attorney based in Mérida, Yucatán. And I have more than 15 years of professional experience. If you want to contact my office, the contact information is in the description of this video and also appears on the screen. I'm not going to repeat the telephone number constantly, but you can find it in the script because nobody is going to remember those 10 numbers. Well, when you listen a legal explanation. So just check the description and information on the script. And now let's talk about how this actually works. Let me begin with something that sounds contradictory. Mexico has a huge number of lawyers. You can find a lawyer if you pick up a stone. And yet finding a good one can be extremely difficult. How is that possible? The first reason is that many lawyers do not have enough legal work to develop consistent practical experience. They may have a law degree, they may have a professional license. Technically, yes, they are lawyers, but perhaps they only handle a few cases every year. Nothing. Maybe they prepare a rental agreement, maybe they help with a power of attorney, maybe they give you, or maybe they give some consultation, maybe they are not regular filing lawsuits or presenting evidence, attending hearings, or taking cases through appeals. Having a law degree is not the same as having litigation experience. Let me say that again. Having a law degree is not the same as knowing how to litigate. There are also many lawyers who eventually start doing something completely unrelated to the practice of law. Perhaps they work in real estate. Perhaps they work in insurance. Perhaps they become administrators. Perhaps they work for a company in a non-legal position. And there is nothing wrong with it. People have to make a living, but the simple fact someone graduated from law school 10 years ago doesn't mean that they have 10 years of actual legal experience. They may have 10 years since graduation and only one or two of real practice. That distinction matters. The second problem is communication. Some lawyers may understand the law reasonable, but they put are terrible at communication with clients. The clients pay, the lawyer disappears. 3 weeks go by, no message, no updates, no copy of the lawsuit, no explanation about whatever the court admitted, no information about the next hearing. Then the client begins to wonder, is the court delayed? Did the lawyer file something? Did the lawyer forget? Does my case still exist? A good lawyer does not have to answer a message every 5 minutes. That is not realistic. For the client should know what is happening in their own case. They should receive important documents. They should be informed about meaningful developments. They should understand the risks, the approximate stage of the process, and what is expected from them. So, when I saw that finding a good lawyer in Mexico is a finding the holy grail. I am not saying that good lawyers do not exist in Mexico. They absolutely exist. But you are searching for a combination that is not always easy to find. Experience, honesty, communication, organization, and real litigation skills. And the ability to tell the client the truth, even when the truth is not what the client wants to hear. That combination is believable. If you find it, be careful with that relationship. Say that lawyer number, treat them well, pay them on time, do not lose them. Because finding a good lawyer in Mexico is not possible, but is not easy. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest, biggest mistakes foreigner makes. Imagine you have a car accident in the United States. What do you search for? Personal injury lawyer? An accident lawyer? Maybe an insurance lawyer? You will probably find dozens of law firms in one city that do nothing but accident case. They have billboards, television commercials, fancy websites, referral networks, investigators, medical experts, entire teams dedicated to the safe time of claim. That model exists because the legal market in the United States is enormous. There is enough volume to support extremely narrow areas of practice. In Mexico, especially outside Mexico City, and a few other large merged markets, legal practice developed differently. That does not mean we have fewer legal problems. Believe me, we have plenty, but private lawyers are usually not divided into those same narrow categories. A Mexican litigator might handle a property dispute on Monday, a criminal complaint on Tuesday, a family hearing on Wednesday, an amparo or federal lawsuit on Thursday. That is normal. That is a normal week for me. It does not automatically mean the lawyer is mediocre or everything. It means the lawyer is a litigator. A litigation is often the real skill you should be searching for. So if you have an accident in Mexico and the situation became litigated, do not focus extremely on finding a person who calls themselves an accident lawyer. You will not find anyone. Look for a lawyer who actually do litigation. and ask whether they handle civil liability, ask whether they have experience with criminal complaints arising from accidents, important, ask whether they have dealt with insurance disputes, ask whether they understand the role of the prosecutor office, the police, the insurance company, and the civil courthouses. Because your case may involve more than one legal area at the same time. The Google search category may say accident case. The law may say civil damage, criminal liability, insurance dispute, administrative misconduct, possible event and amparo. And that is one incident but several legal consequences. So the issue is not simple finding an accident lawyer. The issue is finding someone who can see the entire legal problem. And you are not necessarily searching for the wrong lawyer. You may be using search category that was never designated for Mexico. Tell me in the chat if this has happened to you. Let me check this out. Have you ever searched for a lawyer in English and found website that repeat the correct word but did not clearly explain what the lawyer has actually done? And this is extremely important. Real legal problems do not always fit neatly into one category. A client said, I had an accident. My developer took my money. Okay? My business partner kept the company property. Someone forget my signature. Someone forgot my signature. A contractor disappeared after receive a payment. But that description only tells us what happened. It does not tell us which legal procedure may exist. Let's take the example of a car accident. There may be civil liability for the damage to the vehicles. There may be compensation for medical expenses. There may be a dispute with the insurance company. There may be a criminal investigation if someone was injured. There may be problems recovering the vehicle from an authority. There may be evidence that needs to be preserved immediately. See? So, if the situation has civil and criminal consequences, do you automatically need one civil lawyer and completely different criminal lawyer? No, not necessarily. If you find a litigator or a law officer with experience in both areas, the same team may be able to manage or coordinate both sides. That can make the strategy more consistent. It can reduce duplicated work. It can avoid one lawyer taking a position that damages the other proceeding. Or, of course, some complex cases may require an additional attorney, experts, or specialized consultants. And I am not saying that one person can or should do absolutely everything. I am saying that you should not assume from the beginning that you need a different lawyer for every label connected to the same accident. They use a real estate example. You pay a developer for a house, the property is never delivered, and there may be a civil action for breach of contract. There may be a commercial claim depending on the documents. There may be a consumer complaint with a Profeco, maybe a criminal complaint if the evidence supports fraud. There may even be an amparo if an authority refuses to act properly. So, what are you looking for? A real estate lawyer, a fraud lawyer, a contract lawyer, a consumer or Profeco lawyer? Maybe the real answer is that you need a litigation who can examine the complete situation and identify which actions are actually viable. A good lawyer should not manufacture a criminal complaint simple to free the other party. A civil dispute should not automatically be converted into a criminal accusation, but the lawyer should be capable to recognizing when the facts genuinely create both civil and criminal consequences. Remember, a single event can create several legal proceedings. Lawyer needs to understand the combination not only. Another important source of confusion is the Mexican notary public. A Mexican notary public, yes, is a lawyer. Notary perform important and highly technical legal work. They formalize property transfer. They prepare and authenticate deeds. They create companies. They prepare the power of attorneys. They work with wills. They formalize contract and other legal acts. To explain it in very simple terms, notary work primarily with formal documents, contracts, and titles to property. And that doesn't not mean their work is simple. Is it not? Notarial practice can be extremely technical, but a notary is not automatically the person you need when the matter becomes a lawsuit. The notary may have prepared the deed. The notary may have created the corporation. The notary may have formalized the contract. But when someone breaches the contract, commit fraud, or challenge the property, you usually need a litigator. Some notaries may have prior litigation experience. Yes. Some notarial offices work closely with litigation firms. Yes. But the title notary by itself doesn't not prove current courtroom experience. Most of them not have any courtroom experience. Think about it in this way. The notary helps create or formalize the legal documents. The litigator fight when the document or the transaction become a dispute. Those functions are connected, yes, but they are not identical. This is important because foreigners sometimes meet a notary during a property purchase and later assume that the same person will ultimately be the best choice for a fraud or breach of contract lawsuit. The notary may be able to help with documents or explain the deed, but the courtroom fight is normally the work for a litigator. Now, we need to talk about recommendations. Somebody tells you, I know the best lawyer in Mexico. My lawyer is amazing. This person solves everything for me. That sounds very reassuring. But ask one more question. What did the lawyer actually do for you? Sometimes the answer is he prepared my rental agreement. There is nothing wrong with preparing a rental agreement. A rental agreement should be prepared correctly. That's true. It is important legal work. It's true. But writing one list does not prove that the lawyer knows how to litigate a criminal fraud case. It does not prove that the lawyer has experience with an appeal. And it does not prove that the lawyer can manage a civil trial. It doesn't prove that the lawyer has ever questioned a witness or presented expert evidence. People recommend the lawyer for many reasons. Maybe the lawyer was friendly. Maybe the lawyer answered quickly. Maybe the price was reasonable. Maybe the document looked professional. Maybe the person simply felt comfortable. Those things matters, yes. But a recommendation can sound much longer than the legal work that was actually performed. Someone may honestly believe this is the best lawyer in the world, but perhaps that lawyer only create a simple contract for them. So when somebody recommended a lawyer, Do not ignore the recommendation. Just ask for context. Did the lawyer provide a consultation? Did the lawyer prepare a contract? Did the lawyer negotiate a payment? Did the lawyer file a lawsuit? Did the lawyer take the case to judgment? Did the lawyer handle an appeal? Did the lawyer manage a criminal investigation? Those are very different type of experience. Do not ask only whether someone recommended the lawyer. Ask what the lawyer actually did for the person making the recommendation. That one simple question can save you a great deal of troubles. Now, let me give you one of the clearest red flags in Mexican legal service. He's a lawyer, a facilitator, fixer, or intermediary tells you, I know the judge, I know someone in the prosecutor office, I have a friend inside the government, I can fix everything because I know people. Seriously, run fast. A good lawyer will explain the legal action, the evidence, the procedure, the possible defense, the risk, the cost, the likely stage. The lawyer may know other professionals. Of course, lawyers know court staff, prosecutor, expert notaries, and other attorneys. That happens naturally after years of practice. But professional relationships are not the product being sold. The legal work is the product. When someone's entire strategy is based in supposed influence, you should be extremely careful. At best, the person is exaggerating. At worst, the person is preparing to take your money by promising something they cannot legally guarantee. You will lose it. That's it. These people often avoid explaining the actual legal process. They don't tell you what claim they will file. They do not explain which evidence is required. They do not identify the legal basis. They simply say, trust me. Leave it to me. That is not a strategy. That is a huge red flag. And sometimes these individuals are not even the attorney who will handle the case. They are facilitators. They find the client, they collect the money, then they pass the matter to someone else or they do nothing. The client thinks they hire a connected legal expert. In reality, they hire a salesperson selling supposedly access. A real lawyer sells legal work, a scammer sells contacts. I will make that very, very clear. No honest lawyer can guarantee a judgment because they know a judge. No honest lawyer should promise that a prosecutor will act because they have a friend inside. Your case should depend on the facts, evidence, and legal strategy, not on a story about someone. Let's make this practical. How do you evaluate a lawyer in Mexico? First, ask for the professional license, the cellular professional, and verify that the person is actually licensed. But remember that the license is only the beginning. It proves that person complete the legal requirement to practice. That's it. It does not prove experience in your type of matters. Then ask specific questions. Do not only ask Do you handle accident cases? Almost everybody will say yes. Ask how many similar cases have you actually handled? Were those cases criminal, civil, or both? Which court or authority were involved? Did you personally litigate the matters? What state did the case reach? What evidence will be necessary in my case? What are the main legal risks? What parts of the matter can your office handle? Will another lawyer will requirement for any portion? The lawyer should not reveal confidential information about other clients. But, but, they can still describe their experience in general terms. They can say something like, I have handled several civil claims involving property damage. I have represented clients in criminal investigation arising from accidents. I have litigated breach of contract matters involving developers. I have handled this exact factual situation, but I have experience with these related proceedings. That type of honesty is valuable. I will read it here. I have not handled this exact situation, but there is a part I understand, and here's where we may need additional support. That is much better than false confidence. Be careful with with sentences such as "We do this all the time." This case is already won. That is, of course, this case is already won. Don't worry about anything. We know everything. I guarantee the result. A serious lawyer should explain possibility, not sell certainty. Also, evaluation communication. Ask how updates will be provided. Ask whether you will receive copies of filing. Ask who will actually handle the case. Ask whether the person speaking with you is the attorney or only a facilitator. And how fees are calculated. Ask which expenses are included and which are separate. Fluent English is not litigation experience. A beautiful website is not litigation experience. Thousands of followers are not litigation experience. Answering WhatsApp immediately is not litigation experience. Those things may be useful. Yes, good communication matters, marketing matters, but none of that replaces the ability to do good litigation. A website can say anything, a court file tells a different story. So let's bring everything together. Finding a good lawyer in Mexico can be difficult. Not because there are too few lawyers, because there are so many. And the quality, experience, and communication can vary enormously. Some lawyers do not have enough cases to deliver real experience. Some have not activity practiced for years. Some are good at contract, but they have little control experience. So some understand the law, but communicate is terrible. Some sells confidence instead of a strategy, and some sells post-contact instead of legal work. When you have an accident or another matter that will be litigated, do not focus only on finding a person who used the exit marketing language you're searching for. Look for a real litigator. Look for someone who understands the civil, the criminal, and the consequences of the same incident. And ask whether the same lawyer or office can manage both sides when appropriate. Do not assume you need a different attorney for every category. Do not confuse a notary with a courtroom litigator. Notaries perform essential work involving contracts, deeds, corporation, and property titles. But when the transaction becomes a dispute, you need someone who knows how to fight the case. When someone recommends a lawyer, ask what type of work the lawyer actually performs. It will be a rental agreement, it's not a criminal trial. A consultation is not an appeal. A property closing is not a fraud lawsuit. And when anyone tells you, I know people, I have contact, I know the judge, remember, run. Because a real lawyer should be able to explain the law without selling influence. The central question is not, what title does this lawyer use? The question is, what legal work has this lawyer actually done, and does that experience match the processor my case with? So, Mexico do not have a shortage of lawyers, it has a shortage of experts. Honest lawyers who communicate well and actually know how to litigate. And when you finally find one, take care of that relationship. Keep them in contact, treat them professionally, send in a gift. That's a joke. Pay them in time, because finding a good lawyer in Mexico can feel like finding the Holy Grail. And once you find the Holy Grail, you don't lose the telephone number. Remember, I am Javier Quezada, a litigation lawyer, attorney in Mexico. If you have a legal problem in Mexico and you want to contact my office, the contact information is in the description of this video and should also appear on the screen. We work national and international clients, including consultation by video. And for today, eso es todo, amigos. See you in the next